Hey guys, we're doing another Assorted Darksiders lore this week. We've had a lot of requests for pieces of lore that are each too small to make up their own individual video. As such, in this video we'll be going over what is known about the weapons of the four Horsemen and the demon merchant, Vulgrim.
Alright, first up, let's talk about the primary weapons for each of the four Horsemen. To start with, we're going to go over the favored weapon of the eldest Horseman, Death. Death's preferred weapon is known as the Harvester, and it is actually easily the weapon we know the most about. In its true base form, it is an enormous scythe, and we mean huge. In the Abomination Vault novel, the scythe's blade, just the blade, is described as being longer than Death's arm span. That is, longer than Death can reach, measuring from fingertip to fingertip if he sticks his arms directly out to his sides. Keeping that comparison in mind, it has been noted that, at least in humans, a person's arm span is usually roughly equal to a person's height, meaning that, considering Death's body follows generally humanoid parameters, the Harvester's blade in its natural form is probably longer than Death is tall. And though no official measurements for any of the Horsemen have been released, they are all generally considered taller than the average human. So the scythe has a cutting edge that is more than 7 feet long on the low end of most people's math. Now, some of you have caught on to the fact that we keep mentioning the Harvester's base form. The reason for that is the Harvester can morph and shift nearly instantaneously at Death's mental command. All known variations of Harvester are weapons, but beyond that rather broad, but still theoretical limitation, it appears to be able to assume the form of any weapon that Death desires. In the Abomination Vault, he routinely morphs the Harvester from the aforementioned massive scythe to the smaller, dual-wielding varieties seen in Darksiders 2, as well as a host of other shapes, daggers, axes, spears, etc. At one point, he even turns Harvester into a blunt hook that he uses as a fulcrum to catch onto something to swing from. Because of this, were it not for the express existence of weapons with stories and origins in Darksiders 2, it would be quite reasonable for all of the weapon variations seen in the game to simply be the Harvester, shifting from one form to another. The weapon is also quite sturdy, as at one point, when Death is pinned beneath a large stone slab, he morphs Harvester into a long, hafted weapon, literally shoving the rock off and freeing him from his confinement, with seemingly no damage or even stress to the weapon. Lastly, Death can mentally call Harvester to him from an unknown distance. He generally keeps it close, but whether this is the habit of an old warrior or a habitual function of his control over the Harvester is unknown. But perhaps the most interesting thing about the Harvester is the fact that it was crafted by Death himself.
Next, we have War's weapon, the massive greatsword known as Chaos Eater. We described its appearance, but 1, many of you have already seen our Darksiders 1 playthrough, and 2, pictures! So, War's weapon is, like all the Horsemen's weapons, made of an unknown material and infused with magic. In Chaos Eater's case, the primary magical ability that it possesses is the ability to absorb the energy released in the chaos of battle, and by doing so, grant War the necessary energy, insert mana bar here, to activate a number of mystical abilities, perhaps most notably the Blade Geyser ability. Some references seem to indicate that it does this by either ripping away bits of enemy's soul as it strikes a foe, or by siphoning energy from the soul of a slain foe, but either way, enemy souls appear to be involved. Speaking of, the weapon is tied directly to War's soul as well, so keenly that it actually houses the tiniest sliver of War's life essence within itself. It is very much War's weapon, and due to his soul connection with the sword, it is possible, though we have no way to confirm or deny this, that he is the only one that could wield it at full power. Additionally, in both his comic and the Abomination Vault novel, War is, on occasion, afflicted by a kind of battle rage when using Chaos Eater, though whether this is a function of the weapon, War himself, or an effect born from the blending of weapon and wielder is unknown, as he is always seen with the weapon. As a final magical tidbit, in the Abomination Vault novel, it is noted that the video game-style tendency of Chaos Eater to magically stick to War's back without any sort of sheath, holster, or the like, is actually an ability the weapon has. It just sticks to his back when he puts it there, because War wants it to. End of story. Who crafted Chaos Eater, the nature of its construction, and whether it was originally made for war or was claimed by the Horsemen sometime later is unknown.
The next weapon we're going to go over is Fury's weapon. We'd like to note that a lot more information about Fury's whip will likely be revealed once Darksiders 3 is officially released, but you all really wanted to know about the weapons, so here's what we've been able to glean so far. Her whip is known as Scorn, or possibly the Barbs of Scorn, though this may refer to the weapon's whip form in particular and not the overall weapon itself, as the weapon is actually just a hilt from which she can form a variety of weapons. As so far revealed by game footage, these include Fury's preferred whip form itself, as well as smaller dual flails. In earlier designs, including both sets of comics and the Abomination Vault novel, Scorn was described as being a weapon with a solid hilt, but instead of having leather or rubber forming the sinuous weapon portion of the whip, it was made of pure, lightning-like energy. In the design adopted with Fury's appearance overhaul for the upcoming Darksiders 3, the whip still has an energy core, but instead of being a thick energy whip, a la Star Wars comics or Ferengi, Scorn's whip section is comprised of a core of laser-like energy threads to which numerous small blades are attached. Beyond that, we know very little about Scorn, though we did find a couple of references indicating that Fury's whip was forged by the Mad Smith, a maker with an affinity for crafting things that used energy from the Abyss, and who was banished by the other makers, paving the way for the Abyssal Forge DLC in Darksiders 2. Though it is again unknown whether Scorn was created for Fury or for another.
Lastly, and like their owner, the weapons we know the least about, we have Strife's two revolvers, Mercy and Redemption. Both weapons, though distinct in design, are oversized revolvers, though their apparent abilities differ somewhat beyond that baseline similarity. Mercy is first seen in Darksiders 1, given to War by Ulthane. The thing is that it's unclear whether the Mercy given to War is a replica of Strife's gun or the real deal. It is implied that the maker Ulthane was working on the gun before giving it to War, but whether that means forging it from the ground up or simply fixing/retooling it is unknown. What we do know is that the Mercy seen in Darksiders 1 is an enormous handgun. In War's hands, the thing looks similar in size to something like a sawed-off shotgun, and it has an unlimited clip. As War can fire eternally without ever having to reload, wait for it to recharge, or otherwise take a breather in between shots. Redemption, on the other hand, is a very different beast. We encounter Redemption in Darksiders 2, and unlike Mercy, we know it to be Strife's personal gun, as Death immediately asks how his brother's pistol came into the maker Alia's hands, a question to which no definitive answer is given. Redemption is still enormous, just like Mercy, but rather than looking like a shotgun or at least a stocky modern firearm, Redemption has a design more reminiscent of Old West-style long-barrel revolvers. In addition to this change, Redemption has unlimited ammo, but a limited clip, holding up to 10 bullets in the revolver's cylinder, which passively regenerate over time, whether one bullet is emptied from the clip or all 10. It is also generally considered to do more damage than Mercy. Like Chaos Eater, the creator of Strife's pistol is unknown, as are the events leading to their not being in his possession during the games, and whether they were designed with Strife or other owners in mind. Though it is worth noting that in both Darksiders 1 and 2, Strife's guns are gifted to the player by a maker.
Alright, next up we have Vulgrim, Darksiders' resident neutral demonic merchant. We imagine that one of the reasons Vulgrim was so requested was because we know so very little about him. We're not sure how much we can add to that, but here is everything we know about Vulgrim. First, and likely most obvious, Vulgrim is a demon. We don't know what kind, as like Lilith and Samael, Vulgrim appears to be a unique creature type rather than one of the nearly identical hordes of demonic enemies faced throughout the Darksiders games. As previously mentioned, he is also a merchant, but he's not the stand-up, totally above the board, everything is legal type merchant. Instead, he's the dude in the back of the store that you didn't actually know was there kind of merchant. He is a well-known figure in the black market underworld that spans all of creation. Beings on both sides of the war between heaven and hell know of his existence, and he's the type of creature that manages to keep himself in that sweet spot of being just useful and unthreatening enough to not earn the ire of anyone more powerful than he is. Which, to be clear, is actually a very delicate balance to strike when one sells all manner of exotic, not-so-niceties, especially considering Vulgrim's preferred currency appears to be the departed souls of the dead, which he devours ravenously. Yes, just a quick reminder, despite his neutral stance in the overall political structure of the cosmos, Vulgrim is a demon. And whether souls are his required sustenance or simply a preferred delicacy, he delights in devouring every soul he can get his hands on, and in true demonic fashion, he prefers the souls of the pure, pious, and spiritual, finding that the souls of more morally murky folk have a proportionally bitter aftertaste.
He takes other forms of payment as well. In Darksiders 2, he accepts both guilt and boatman coins, and it is hinted in Darksiders 1 and shown in Death's comics that he's willing to trade for wares of particular value or rarity. As in Darksiders 1, he makes a bid for one of the Chosen Hearts, ultimately settling for a look, which could give him a lot of information, assuming he possesses the right mystical skills. And in the comics, he wants the tongue of a great Leviathan, in exchange for a powerful weapon Death wished to purchase. Pre-release footage of Darksiders 3 tells us that Vulgrim will make another appearance in Darksiders 3, meaning he's appeared in each of the Darksiders games, and again, trades in souls. We don't know how old Vulgrim is, but we do know he has been running his black market mercantile business since at least 1722, as that is when Death's comic and their tongue for side trade occurs. And realistically, we can assume a minimum of probably 10 years or so before that, since both Death and Abaddon knew Vulgrim by reputation, if not personal meeting. Though, given the seeming agelessness of angels and demons, it is likely he had at least a few centuries of successful black market dealings prior to the 1700s. If he's half as old as Death or Abaddon, he's got to be running in the thousands of years old kind of category.
He is known to be a devious and cunning creature, spinning whatever stories and selling whatever wares necessary in order to acquire more souls to devour. According to descriptions, his hunger for souls of the dead could be considered something of a curse, as his hunger evidently grows more ravenous with each soul consumed. In Darksiders 1, he trades souls for new combat abilities for war. In Darksiders 2, he trades guilt and boatman coins for randomized loot boxes, as well as the ability to respec. In Darksiders 3, it looks like he is involved in Fury's level-up process, though the exactitudes of this process and whether or not he sells anything else are unknown. It should also be noted that he is always seeking to expand his area of influence, as though he does not appear to make any obvious grabs for power like the other notable demons, he seems to travel anywhere and everywhere to acquire souls, even going so far as to try and make some sort of business trading setup with the Charred Council. He'd probably try to set up trade agreements with the angels if he didn't know that an official accord is something he'd never get from them. He'll go absolutely anywhere and do nearly anything to acquire more and more souls, even turning on fellow demons like the Destroyer when he sold out information on the fallen angel to war in Darksiders 1 once he fell out of the Destroyer's favor. Additionally, though we never see it in the games or the extended media of Darksiders, it is noted that he has been known to lie, cheat, and even kill to acquire more souls. So it's entirely possible, even likely, that the only reason the Horsemen can deal somewhat safely with Vulgrim is because of the presumed gap in power they possess, and perhaps more importantly, the threat of the Council's wrath should anything actually happen to one of their enforcers. For those wondering, we don't know whether or not the souls of those Vulgrim devours return to the Well of Souls despite his feasting, but assuming that the Lord of Hollows, again seen from pre-release footage of Darksiders 3, can be even halfway trusted concerning the nature of his hollowing of other creatures, a process we will not explain here to avoid as many spoilers as possible, it seems likely that the essences of the souls Vulgrim eats do still eventually find their way to the Well of Souls, though what effects being eaten by a demon have on the purification process in the City of the Dead, we cannot even begin to guess.
And that's what we know about the weaponry wielded by the mighty Horsemen of the Apocalypse, as well as what we know about the shady demonic merchant Vulgrim. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like, and if you have ideas for videos you'd like to see us do in the future, do like all of these wonderful people, and let us know in the comments down below. If you want to see more videos from us in the future, be they lore or let's play, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
In the meantime, this has been
True Masters and Morons,
signing off. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like it, hit this subscribe orb.
To see our last Let's Play, click or tap the link on the right.
For our last lore video, go to the link on the left.
And for a video chosen by the gods of YouTube from our channel, hit that link on top.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.